Michelle Graycheck, President and CEO with the National Association of Long-Term Care Administrator Boards, or NAB for short. Welcome to our Leading the Way series. With me today is Brian B. Brian, welcome. Would you take a minute to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. I'm Brian B., and I am a licensed administrator currently residing in Overland Park, Kansas. I've been licensed in the state of Wisconsin, in South Carolina, and now in Kansas. I am currently the Associate Executive Director at Tallgrass Creek by Erickson Senior Living. It's an continuing care retirement community, and I'm just so happy to be here today to talk with you.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for joining me. Today, I'd love to ask you some questions about NAB's Health Service Executive qualification, which I understand that you have. I'd love to hear why you decided to become HSE qualified.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I became Health Services Executive qualified because I really did think that being HSE qualified would have a future benefit for me. I, as mentioned, have been licensed in multiple states and initially was licensed in Wisconsin and then South Carolina. While in South Carolina, I realized that it was quite a cumbersome process to get licensed, if you will, the traditional or old-fashioned way. The process involved a fairly extensive application in which then I discovered I needed to first pursue a provisional license, which involved multiple additional steps. That was confusing to me because as a licensed administrator in Wisconsin, I knew the qualifications met and in some cases exceeded those of South Carolina's requirements. So I was hoping at some point, someday, there'd be a better way. And I believe it was around 2018, NAB introduced the Health Services Executive qualification. So that was immediately of interest to me. And I did my research. I looked into it and discovered that, yes, it would be something that I should look into and pursue because it could benefit me. It would have benefited me, likely, in my pursuit of the South Carolina license. And who knows, maybe I might relocate again. So I pursued it, found out that the application was quite easy, very streamlined. And in the process, I realized that all the information NAB was collecting was similar to what a state likely collected for licensure qualification. And it became kind of a clearinghouse, if you will. So in the process of pursuing and becoming HSE qualified, I had two choices. I could look at the academic route or I could look at the career pathway. And the academic pathway would have worked because I attended a NAB accredited university. But for me, I had already been practicing as a licensed administrator in two different states. And so I did qualify to pursue the career pathway, and NAB showed that in the application process. So I needed to ensure that I passed the line of service examination for home and community-based services. And that was a process that I felt I just needed to prepare for, learn about, and study the resources that NAB provides, which is readily available in the NAB study guide. And from there, I took the exam, passed it. NAB reviewed all of my existing application qualifications plus the score for the HCBS line of service exam. And then I received my HSE qualification, which to me was very important. I didn't know when or if it would have value to me in my career. I just felt at that time it was something that was worth pursuing, and I definitely think it was, and have more to share in terms of why it was.
And that's a great point, because I think the reason NAB chose to do the HSE is primarily mobility and really making sure. Number one is we knew mobility of licensure is a huge thing in the profession, and that people are more mobile today than they have been in the past. And secondly, it really does qualify you across all lines of service: the resident care assisted living, the home and community based services, and then the nursing home administration. I do think you covered how did you become HSE qualified, but did you have anything else to share? You said it was a pretty easy process, but did you have anything about regarding, you said it was easy, but anything to share with the audience about the qualification logistics or process of the process?
Yeah, sure. In just the kind of overview of it, when I was first looking into the health services executive qualification, I noted that there was two pathway options. There's the career pathway, and there's the academic pathway. And the academic pathway certainly is for individuals that are entry level, first time administrators, maybe just finished their curriculum and just graduated. For me at the time, I knew I had years of service, kind of under my belt in Wisconsin, and also at that time in South Carolina. So it was a process that made more sense for me because I was able to even probably navigate that process even quicker, because then I didn't have to take both lines of service examinations in conjunction with having already taken the nursing home administrator line of service examination as it was when I took it back in 2008. So I would encourage, if anybody's even just wondering, is this for me? Take the 5, 10, 15 minutes, just look into what's involved in the process to apply. I think you would find that it's very well laid out. The process is not difficult, and you get real-time feedback as you enter information into your profile. You get pretty nifty check marks, green with a check mark that it's complete, or you still know what is left to complete. And if you have any questions, I know for me, NAB staff were very responsive with what was left in order to obtain the qualification.
Well, and I think education pathway, we strongly encourage that group. I mean, they're already kind of in that school mode, and it's a great time to pursue the accreditation at that point in their professional careers at the beginning of when they join the workforce. So I think you're spot on there with the education pathway, and it's something that is primarily for our NAB or HSE accredited universities that get to go that pathway. I do want to highlight the whole how do you become HSE qualified. NAB will hold on to your original copy of your transcripts, which is a benefit to some. We actually had a gentleman who his university closed down, and so he was able to have no issues transferring a license because we did have a copy of his original transcript. So those are the kind of things you really don't think about when you're going to transfer your license when you're first out of college. So definitely something to think about is, like you said, we can serve as your clearinghouse. So, I mean, one of the things that I think limits people from pursuing the HSE is the examinations, and I think that's kind of the big elephant in the room. Talk about a little bit about that experience of coming back and taking an exam after getting out of school, because I've had that experience and it's nerve-wracking. So tell me about that.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it does even go to your earlier point. It promotes the education pathway. You're already in an active learning mindset, maybe used to taking examinations, so maybe consider that education pathway for those of you that are recent graduates while you're already in test-taking mode. But for those that are not in current test-taking mode and haven't been for a while, the resources are there. The resources are on the NAB website. NAB has a study guide, which is very intuitive and very user-friendly. So you have to study. If you don't know the line of service, if you're not a subject matter expert already, you should approach that examination process that you have to be at least entry level subject matter expert. So to take the examination, be prepared, be ready, be confident. What is nice though is the way in which the composition of the examinations exists now. There's a 100-question core examination, which many of you are probably already aware of if you're already in pursuit of this this field and licensure are already licensed in one of the lines of service and just pursuing this HSE. So that's out of the way. Then you have the 50 question line of service examinations. You're already licensed in one of them if you're pursuing HSE, maybe both. In like my case, having NHA and RCAL already complete, it was just the HCBS, Home and Community Based Services. And it, to me, quite simply, it's get yourself to a point of where you feel that you know what you know. And if honestly, it's just in this industry in healthcare, if you're most are readily prepared because you have to be, and then just be confident. It's a 50 question line of service examination, and once you take it, if you don't pass it, there's another opportunity. It's not a one and done chance. But I think if you go into it with the right mindset, you won't regret it, and you'll feel the return on investment for pursuing the HSE just by taking a couple examinations.
Thank you, Brian. That makes perfect sense. And with that, I think everyone is looking at, well, what's kind of in this for me? So has the HSE expanded career opportunities for you, do you feel? And if it has, would you share some of those with us?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I think both indirectly and directly. I think indirectly it's expanded networking without a doubt. Just having the HSE has sometimes sparked questions and conversations, whether it be in an interview or whether it be at a networking event. Like, what exactly is that? How'd you get it? Is it easy? Should I get it? And it also it should provide a confidence boost in knowing that you had the individual determination to pursue something that was either new at the time or that is being recognized. In this case, more and more states are recognizing this path of HSE qualification. So it does show two things. One, either you're really trying to advance yourself and set yourself apart, or two, or both, that you are really trying to advance the profession. The more individuals that are HSE qualified, the more recognition there will be for the HSE qualification because it'll show its worth and return on investment. For me, specifically directly, I now work at a continuing care retirement community in Overland Park, Kansas, as I mentioned. And as an associate executive director, I have a reporting nursing home administrator to me. And so I oversaw that position. But just like any other business, sometimes turnover happens. And in the case of our organization, our nursing home administrator did leave the organization, and we needed to have an interim. I was licensed in Wisconsin and South Carolina, and I was HSE qualified. And Kansas adopted the HSE qualification. I submitted for licensure. It was extremely fast, faster than I would have even imagined. And I had to take the state license exams, which was expected anyway. But the process, they have a separate application, they have a separate process for those that are HSE qualified. And I do believe that having the HSE allowed me and it got me I was able to obtain the Kansas licensure so much faster. In fact, even before that 30-day notice expired. So I was able to, be in the interim seat with my organization in under 30 days by pursuing the Kansas NHA licensure through the HSE qualification.
And that right there speaks volumes because we all know, and anybody listening can attest to how long license transfers can take. I mean, it can take up to 6 months, I've heard from some individuals. Well, Brian, is there anything else you would like to share with our audience who's listening about the HSE? I know that you have found value in it, and anything else you would like to share with our group that's listening about the HSE?
Yeah, thanks for that question as well. I would just share that if you don't think it's for you, maybe just ask yourself why not, and in reality, there's barriers, right? This is a very busy profession. It's hard to find time. But if you are determined and you are somebody that is passionate about lifelong learning, if you're enthusiastic and passionate about our industry, about our profession, I think it's something that you should really look into, because NAB has made it very easy to pursue HSE qualification. The resources are there. In fact, beyond just the resources that are there for your access, if you have any questions, the feedback is very fast. And so there really isn't a barrier from the application or the process to take the examination. Really, the barrier might just be on your own side. Time, and time is a valuable asset. We all understand that, can appreciate that. But I think this is something worth your time to invest in, because for you as an individual, you may not have a need now. You may not have a need 5 years from now. You may not ever have a need, but it does show that you were willing to and wanted to pursue something at a higher level of qualification that, again, could benefit you. If it doesn't, I do think, and I wholeheartedly believe that it benefits our profession to have more and more people pursue the HSE qualification.
Well, Brian, I want to thank you for what you do on a daily basis, because without people such as you and the individual listening to this call, we would not have the people ensuring public protection to the most frail of our population. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you do to protect our seniors and other frail individuals in our population, and serving as administrators across the country. I do want to tell the ones that are listening to us today, if you're interested in the HSE and would like to join us in leading the way forward, you can go to the NAB website, www.nabweb.org. As Brian said, more than half the country now accepts the HSE. So you too can get in on this super interesting way to have your license be more mobile. So thank you for joining us today, and we'd love if you joined another series listening to the Leading the Way series. Thank you.
Thank you.
For more information on the education pathway, please visit the NAB website.